So I'm taking a trip down to Spain for the first time this year. Well, not the first time this year, but it's the first time since, well, a long time. And I'm really looking forward to it. I bought a new lens, a 70-200 f4, the Sony G lens, and I'm going to do some underwater photography. I'm going to do some landscapes, and I'm going to make some videos about that. Super excited about all of that. I'm traveling as light as I can. What I've managed to do is to get everything into 2 carry-ons. So what I normally do is I book an extra carry-on bag so that I can bring it all with me onto the plane and I don't have any problem worry about losing stuff. Super important as far as I'm concerned. And so I've got stuff in this bag right here, which is my my bag, and I might show you what's in there, but I've got dozens of lenses, and this wheelie bag which I've managed to get my underwater housing in, and all my clothes and all the crap you need when you're going away for a week. So I've got all that in there, and I've got my cameras and my lenses, bits and pieces, tripod, the whole works. It's all there. I should just say that when I'm packing my wheelie bag, obviously I'm not going to need my underwater housing when I'm on the plane. So what I do is I pack it into my wheelie bag, and instead of using loads of padding and whatever, I use my clothes all around it and just pack it in there nice and neat. Occasionally they ask me to get it out of the bag, but that's only happened once or twice, or they just say, "What is that?" and they point to the X-ray machine, and because they don't recognize it, and you just tell them, and it's like, oh, okay. And so that's normally fine. So that's a way to carry that and get that down there. I've got my mask, my snorkel, my favorite stuff, and then I've got some fins and some other gear that I always keep down at the place in Spain, so I don't need to carry all that stuff. It's obviously super important, but you know, it's a way to travel light, is to just have stuff in different places. The mechanics of travel are just as interesting and part of the experience as the bit when you get there. Trains, buses, planes and connections between them all, places of flux and transition, people out of their ordinary day-to-day lives on an adventure. It's hard not to feel that excitement and anticipation as something palpable. Am I the only one that feels like this as a middle-aged, some would say grumpy old man? I can't help feel the excitement all around me. And I did just as much on this trip, knowing I would wake up the next morning in a sunnier, brighter place by the sea. Going to the pool to get a little bit of practice in for some water photography, which I haven't done for a while. Degrees. And because it's not 30 degrees, but it's quite muggy and it feels quite hot. I think
what temperature is it, Mummy?
Mid-20s. All right. Oh, look at that pool beckoning. Looks amazing. Swimming pool. Just get a little bit of practice in. I know that I normally eschew the pool photography, but today, you know, it's the first day back in the water for a long time, and I really fancy just getting wet. Are those my goggles? Let's just chuck my goggles in the water. Don't ever have children. So what am I using today? I'm using the Aquatech camera housing with the Sony A7R III and the 16-35mm GM lens. I've got an Osmo Action camera up here. I've also got this little Osmo Action cam, which I can attach to my snorkel, but we might just sort of carry it around with us. I'm gonna go down into the water. This is so small. It's so cute. It's got this little bad boy. It goes on the bottom. Click, clickety click. Come out. There we go. Clickety click. On it goes. That goes on the bottom of my snorkel. Happy days. I didn't expect any amazing photos from this first session in the pool. It was really just a chance to refamiliarise myself with the gear in the water after many months enforced sabbatical from water photography. The pool is the ideal safe place to check the equipment is working the way it should, and for everyone to get used to working with the camera. The fresh water and the fact of having nearby dry areas mean, barring a catastrophic housing failure, most emergencies can be easily dealt with compared to photographing in the sea.
I'm gonna step in. I'm gonna go like that.
Okay.
I find the images I can make in the pool are limited. After a short while, I'm always itching to get into the sea, which is where I always think I can be the most creatively free. I need some weights. I keep bobbing to the surface. I'm really buoyant. And I don't mean that in like a, effervescent type of personality-wise way. I mean, I am literally really buoyant.
You got to pick up them.
I need some weights. We're going out onto La Llana Beach, which is here in Murcia, and we're going to take the underwater camera underneath the waves and get some good photos under the sea, I hope. That's the idea anyway. And I've got my lovely partner and my son here as subjects. Let's see how we go with this. I've got so much stuff that I'm carrying, it's ridiculous. You can't actually see it, but over my shoulder here and over my shoulder here and at the back there somewhere, I've got loads of stuff that I'm carrying. That's the life of someone who takes underwater photos, is lots of crap that you need to bring every time you go to the beach. It takes a lot more time as well, so that's another thing to bear in mind. But you know what, I'm really looking forward to this underwater shoot. Ma's been down here yesterday. She said the water's really clear. That's the thing about going down to the beach, is trying to find some water that's clear, that's got something interesting underneath. That's what we're trying to do. It turned out when we got to the beach it was windier than expected and the water was churned up a little, so not as clear as I'd hoped for. In this scenario, I tend to set up the camera for above the water images more than below, and decided to use the 24mm GM lens. Taking the time to correctly set up the camera on the beach before getting in the water is always a must. Especially with this Aquatech housing, there are several buttons and dials you can't adjust once the camera is inside the housing. Going out now, the visibility is really rubbish, but I'm going to go out, have a look anyway, because it's worthwhile having a look, even if the visibility looks crap. There's always some photos you can take, even if it's not the ones that you really wanted to take. Anyway, let's have a look. If there's no other subject available, then I'm happy to turn the camera on myself, taking lots of photos so I've got many to choose from when I'm back in front of the computer. I always say that if you're not prepared to turn the camera on yourself, then you can't expect others to happily submit to you taking photographs of them either. Even just the surface of the water can make an interesting subject once distracting surroundings are eliminated by using a wide aperture to get a shallow depth of field. For these shots I used an aperture of 2.8. Right, you're going to dive under? Okay. I might have to put some flipperinos on. When the water is murky, I take photos above the water, close enough and interacting with the water in ways I couldn't do without a waterproof housing. I took many photos of Luca with a shallow depth of field, knowing that a number of them would be out of focus, have water on the port, or splashes in the wrong place. I moved around so that the sun was behind me and also directly in front. I think it's important to try as many angles with the sun as possible because often breaking the rules can provide pleasant surprises and breakthroughs. Leaving some elements to chance like this also means that I can be surprised later on when I'm reviewing the images. On this particular shoot, my most pleasing surprise was this shot of Luca with the sun behind him. His fingers were distorted by water on the front of the port, giving the image an ethereal and otherworldly quality where, in viewing the image, I do a double take, unsure exactly what it is that I'm seeing. These chance moments are, to me, the most exciting aspect of photography, like discovering a little nugget of gold at the bottom of a pan.
What's the button? What button do you press?
That big one at the front.
This one.
That's the one. Good rule of thumb, if you can't get any photographs under the water, take some photographs over the water. So Luca decided we wanted to go for another swim, so we did that, and even though the water's still very murky, we went above the water and took a few shots above the water, which obviously you couldn't do without a underwater camera housing, because obviously I was going in and out and in and out. So hopefully we've got a few nice shots, a bit sort of really close, shallow depth of field, high shutter speed. We'll see how those turned out. They felt quite good. Anyway, nice light coming from the side, evening light, should be nice. On the day, I mixed up more formal images with less formal and more dynamic framing and posing. I don't like to limit myself to just one style of photography, and mixing it up means I've got different photo series I can add to afterwards, all the way from the formal to the more abstract. So that's where I'm going to leave it for this video. I'm back here in London. It's cold, it's wet, it's dark. Quite a contrast from last week or 2 weeks ago now that I was in Spain. Finally getting around to making this video, and there's so much footage and there's so many photos. I'm still going through it all, but I thought I need to stop it there. I'm going to show you those first couple of things that I did the first day that I was in Spain. Hopefully you found that interesting and you've enjoyed some of the photos I've showed you so far. More to come next week. I'm putting together another video already as we speak, and I'm going to share that with you guys as soon as possible. But until then, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!
I'm not putting this in the YouTube video, right?
This is exactly what I'm putting in a YouTube video. Don't you bloody believe it! Or forget it! Or know it! Where you're mucking around is... I can't use it, darling. Alright?
Yeah, you're not going to use this.
It's
Which are you?
unusable.
Unusable.